Welcome back. Now we are going to look at database migration. And this will be a brief introduction to get to understand about database migration. So database migration is a nice and neat way provided by Laravel of specifying your table structure without bothering writing a bunch of SQL queries. So in a simple definition, database migration is like a version control of your database. So instead of creating and running SQL queries manually using the php_myadmin, you can use the @ commands to accomplish what you want. So it also allows you to make incremental changes. You can roll back the changes you've just made and also keep the database structure in sync when multiple teams or your team are working on the same application with just a single command. So let's see something from the Laravel documentation. So you can go to laravel.com, documentation, and then database, and then migrations. So if you look at the introduction part, you'll see it says migrations are like version control of your database, just like I've said, allowing your team to easily modify and share the application's table database schema. So if you look something else here, you'll see it says if you have ever had to tell a teammate to manually add a column to their local database schema, you have faced the problem that database migration solve. And that's why I said they provide a nice and neat way to interacting with the database. So you don't use any php_myadmin, you just use your @ commands available in Laravel to accomplish what you want to do. So here, for example, we have generating migrations. That is to create a table. You just have to run a command like this: php @make migration, and then create _ the name of the table _ table. So that is a command to create a new table. Then we have this migration structure. So a migration class contains two methods, the up and down. The up method is used to add a new tables, columns, or indexes to your database, while the down method should reverse the operation performed by the up method. So if you go to our application, under the database directory, migrations, we have two migration table, which comes with Laravel, which means every time you install Laravel, these two tables are always available. So if you open the users table, you notice we have this migration class, and then we have the up method, and then the down method. So this is the down method. So the up method is used to create table, and this is the name of the table, and then to add columns and indexes to the database. And that's what we have here. So this is just an example of what you have just seen. And then once you're done creating all those, then you can come and run this command php_migrate, and then it will store everything to the database. You can also force your migration by flagging it with --force. You can also roll back, just like we said, with just a single command. That is, you can run php_migrate and then roll back. You can also specify the steps you want to roll back by flagging it with --step and then the number of steps you want to roll back. You can also reset migration, which means it will delete everything from the database. You can also run a fresh migration, which means this one will roll back all your migration and then execute the migrate command. And then we have tables, and this one we have just checked. We have columns. Something about columns: the table method on the schema facade may be used to update existing tables, like the create method. The table method accepts two arguments, the name of the table and a closure that receives the blueprint instance you may add to your columns to the table. And we have what we call column types, and this table provides available column types you can use in Laravel migration. For example, you have a command and then description. So for example, you have this column type called big increments, which auto-incrementing and signed big integer primary key equivalent column. So if you look at the users table, you'll see we have this column type called big increments. This is a column type called string. These are column type called timestamp, and we have timestamps in plural. So this one will create two nullable columns on the database for created art and updated art. So all these are available on this table depending on the application you're creating or the type of columns you want to have. So for example, we have that timestamps. Let me show you. We have timestamps, this one. It adds an nullable created data and updated that timestamp equivalent columns. Then we have column modifiers. So in addition to the column types listed above, there are several column modifiers we may use while adding a column to a database table. For example, you might want to have a column which is nullable. So you have to use the nullable method like this. So then we have this table which has these modifiers and description of what that modifier will do. For example, you can add a column after another one which exists on the database, which will place the column after another column only on MySQL. So you can go through that. Then you can do what you call renaming a column. You can rename an existing column on the database. So that is, to rename a column, you may use the rename column method on the schema builder. After renaming a column, be sure to add the doctrine debol dependency on the composer.json. So you have to rename from and then to the column that you want to rename to. Then something else is, you will see here we have indexes. So the schema builder supports several types of indexes. First, we have, for example, you can specify whether it's unique by using this unique method like this. And here we have this table for available index types. We have command and their description. Then finally, we have this index length and MySQL and MariaDB. So Laravel uses UTF-8 MB4 character set by default, which includes support for storing emojis in the database. So if you're running version MySQL older than 5.4 and MariaDB older than 10.2 release, you may manually add this default string length to the app service provider like this. And then we have these dropping indexes. We have this table which can help in defining this or dropping indexes. Then we have foreign key constraints. So also Laravel supports for how you can disable and enable foreign key constraints. So you can specify using this, enable foreign key constraint and disable foreign key constraints. So SQLite disables foreign key constraints by default. When using SQLite, make sure to enable foreign key support in your database configuration before attempting to create them in your migration. So that's all about this introduction, and in the next lecture we'll try now to see how you can create and work with the migration. See you in the next lecture.